Oleg Gordievsky was Britain's greatest Cold War asset, bar none. He was a KGB officer who had been persuaded to come over to MI6 in about 1972. And he produced incredible amounts of really high-grade intelligence from deep within the Kremlin at enormous risk to his own life. I mean, had he been caught, he would have been tortured and executed. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So he's an extraordinary man. I reached out to him, and this is going to sound hilarious, but the fact is his email address was in the Times Rolodex because he had written for us.
Gordievsky.
No, definitely not. It's you would never spot it as being his.
You really are overestimating the Russian intelligence.
He'd written reviews for us in the past, and someone had left his email. So I just contacted him and said, I'd love to come and see you. And he was initially, it was the first time, and indeed the only time really, I've written about a subject who was living and who was in control of their own story. And that was fascinating. I worked it out once. I think I spent 150 hours in the safe house talking to him, going through the bits of his life and going over it and over and over it. And it was a strange experience in some ways because we all do this with our memories. We have a kind of recollection of the story of that we want to tell.
Yeah.
And the more we tell it, the more often we tell it, the more it becomes refined and it becomes our truth.
And the older it gets.
But it becomes our personal truth. And it was often quite difficult with Oleg because, of course, I was also interviewing all the MI6 case officers who had run his case. And very occasionally I would have to say, Oleg, your memory of what you think happened on that day is wrong. And I'd get this very hard Slavic look, often with a long silence. And then he'd say, okay, well, you know my life better than I know my life, so you can write whatever you like. One of the challenges of doing this sort of history is, well, first of all, spies are notorious liars, obviously. They tend to fabulate and make up their past anyway. And then you've got the layer of memory on top of that. So one of the challenges is trying to fill it out. That was certainly my experience with Oleg, actually, with Oleg Gordievsky, because, of course, he read the manuscript. And clearly it had quite an effect on him because it was bringing back a real memory. That was often slightly different from the one that he himself had kind of remembered and had passed on and had told so many times. So in a way, I think he found that both difficult and in some way a bit slightly cathartic. I think he found the rediscovery of his own memory through someone else, maybe me, and he was very trusting of me. I mean, we had our moments. I mean, he's a tricky customer in some ways.
And when you go meet someone like that who's alive and is still wanted, for want of a better word, do you have to go about that in a different way yourself? Do you have to make sure you're not followed, or do you have to go through MI5 or MI6 to say, listen, this is what I'm going to do? What security do you have in place? I mean, presumably there's a file on you somewhere.
Sure, there is. I'll only say that there is a complex and very rigorous system that nobody would be able to break. Let me put it that way. That I can the way that I see him is not a way that anybody would be able to track.